the divine alarms hidden in the chaos of your life. We live in a time where we become addicted to noise, scrolling, swiping, chasing dopamine hits in a digital sea of distraction. And while we're busy numbing ourselves with entertainment, comfort, and consumption, something ancient, something divine has been trying to reach us. But it doesn't shout, it doesn't beg, it warns. And most of us ignore it. I've been on this path for years, walking through spiritual deserts, climbing inner mountains, sitting in silence so deep it felt like death. And still, I missed the signs, until I was broken open, until everything I thought I was collapsed. That's when I started seeing what had been there all along. Warnings, not from some vengeful force in the sky, but from something infinitely loving, from God, from Source, from the intelligence that designed your soul. But here's the thing about divine warnings. They don't always feel divine. They don't come wrapped in light. Sometimes they come wrapped in pain, silence, and confusion. Why? Because that's the only language we're still willing to hear. So today, I want to take you into the depth of 7 dark spiritual warnings from God that you've likely been ignoring. And I don't say this to scare you. I say this to wake you up. Because if you're feeling lost, like something is off, like your soul is screaming but no one hears it, this video might just be the answer you didn't know you were seeking. Let's begin. The first warning is repetition of suffering. You keep ending up in the same kind of toxic relationship, the same burnout cycle, the same emotional breakdowns over and over again. That's not a coincidence. That's not bad luck. That's a divine echo. When the soul refuses to listen to whispers, God allows life to repeat like a broken record until you finally say, "Enough. I can't do this anymore." That moment when you drop to your knees, not out of weakness, but out of surrender, that's when the lesson can finally enter. But if you numb it with distractions, you'll keep circling the same desert. So I ask you, what pain in your life keeps repeating itself? And what deeper truth are you refusing to face because of it? The second warning is disconnection from purpose. You wake up tired even after sleeping. You feel numb in places where you used to feel joy. You're successful maybe, but not fulfilled. You're busy, but not aligned. That's not burnout. That's your soul trying to get your attention. God doesn't send thunderbolts to redirect you. He sends emptiness, silence, a loss of passion. Because sometimes the only way to reroute a distracted soul is to take away the very things that were keeping you asleep. If your life feels like it's lost meaning, it's because meaning can't be found in what you're doing anymore. It must be found in who you're becoming. And becoming always starts with unbecoming. So what are you clinging to that is no longer aligned with your spirit? The third warning is emotional volatility. You're angry without knowing why. You cry at random moments. You feel anxious in safe places. These are not personality flaws. These are divine alarms. Your emotions are sacred messengers, and when they're chaotic, it means your internal world is no longer in harmony with the truth of your soul. We often try to silence these emotions with medication, denial, or fake positivity. But feelings are not the problem. They're the portal. God uses your emotional body as a compass. When you're off path, your soul starts vibrating in discomfort. And if you ignore it, that vibration turns into illness, anxiety, or self-sabotage. So instead of asking, "How do I stop feeling this?" ask, "What is this feeling asking me to see that I haven't been willing to face?" The fourth warning is spiritual numbness. You used to feel something when you meditated, when you prayed, when you looked at the sky. But now, nothing. Just silence. Just spiritual flatline. This, my friend, is not failure. This is the dark night of the soul. It's when God hides his presence to see if you'll still seek him. It's when the training wheels come off. It's when you're being invited to move from dependency on feelings to the maturity of faith. Most people give up here. They say, God abandoned me. But what if I told you this silence is the greatest compliment to your soul? Because it means you're ready to stop chasing God in the clouds and start finding him in the dark. The question is, can you keep walking when the path disappears? The fifth warning is dissonance in your surroundings. You're outgrowing your friends. Your job feels suffocating. Your hobbies feel pointless. You're not crazy. You're not broken. You're evolving. And when the soul begins to awaken, the ego starts to panic. It wants comfort, familiarity, and approval. But your soul, it wants truth. So God begins to remove the scaffolding around you, the relationships that no longer serve your growth, the environments that keep you small, the patterns that keep you asleep. And it feels like loss, but it's not loss, it's space. Space for the new, space for the real, space for the version of you that is waiting to emerge when you finally stop betraying yourself to fit into a life that was never yours to begin with. The sixth warning is synchronicities that grow louder. You keep seeing the same numbers, the same symbols. You keep hearing the same message in songs, conversations, dreams. That's not your imagination. That's spiritual code. The divine doesn't just speak in scripture, it speaks in patterns. And when your soul is on the brink of awakening, these signs intensify. But here's the secret. The signs are not the destination. They're the invitation. Too many people worship the signs instead of walking the path they're pointing to. If you keep seeing synchronicities but ignoring the action they're calling you to take, eventually they turn into chaos. Why? Because unfulfilled purpose becomes spiritual frustration. You were never meant to just notice the signs. You were meant to respond. The seventh and final warning for today is the death of your old self. This one's hard. You feel like you're falling apart. Your identities are crumbling. What used to excite you now repels you. You're scared because nothing feels stable anymore. But what if this is the answer to the prayer you forgot you asked for? You begged for transformation. You asked for clarity. You wanted to find your purpose. And now you're being dismantled. Not because God is punishing you, but because your higher self cannot be built on the foundation of your false self. Death always precedes rebirth. Caterpillars dissolve into nothing before becoming butterflies. Why would your transformation be any different? The question isn't, why is this happening to me? The question is, what part of me needs to die so that my truth can live? My friend, these are not just signs. These are soul alarms. And if you've been feeling them, don't run. Don't suppress. Don't wait for the world to give you permission to change. This is your permission. This is your sign. This is your call to return, not to who you were, but to who you really are. Because when God whispers and we don't listen, he speaks louder. And when we still don't listen, he shakes the ground we stand on. But not to harm us, to wake us, to free us, to call us home. The soul's earthquake, when God breaks you to remake you. There's a point on the spiritual path where everything begins to unravel, not as punishment, but as permission. You lose the job, the relationship ends, the friendships drift, your health declines, You try to hold on, but the more you grip, the more it snips away. This is the soul's earthquake. And when it hits, it doesn't ask for your readiness. It arrives like a storm that refuses to be ignored. You may think God is abandoning you, but it's the opposite. He's rebuilding you. He's removing anything that can't come with you into the next chapter of your becoming. We often pray for transformation, but when it comes, we resist it because we expected light beams and angel choirs. What we got instead was silence, darkness, and the collapse of everything we thought was us. But listen closely. God doesn't destroy what's real. He only breaks what was built in illusion. You see, most of us construct lives based on survival, not truth. We become who we think we need to be to feel safe, accepted, or loved. We build personas, careers, relationships on these false blueprints. And then we wonder why we feel empty, why it all feels wrong, even when it looks right. So God, in His mercy, begins to dismantle the illusion. Not to hurt you, but to wake you. And the dismantling hurts because you've identified with the lie. You think you are the role, the job, the relationship, but you're not. You're the awareness behind it. And when God begins to shake the foundation, the ego screams, "I'm dying." But the soul whispers, "You're being reborn." So when everything collapses, don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Ask, what false self is being removed so my real self can finally rise? One of the darkest spiritual warnings is the emptiness that follows success. You've achieved what you thought would fulfill you. The degree, the money, the recognition. But instead of joy, you feel nothing. That emptiness is sacred. It's not a failure, it's proof that your soul is evolving beyond the ego's games. When you chase goals driven by fear, comparison, or validation, you may succeed externally but starve internally. And God allows it, because He wants you to face the truth. The world cannot give you what your soul is hungry for. Teaplos fais. The money dulls, the titles become meaningless. And in that void, you're forced to ask the deeper question, what is my life really about? That question is the beginning of everything real. But only those brave enough to sit in the void will ever find the answer. Then comes the isolation. You feel distant from others. You don't relate to conversations the way you used to. You can't tolerate surface-level interactions. You crave depth, silence, truth. This isn't depression. It's divine separation. When God begins to elevate your spirit, He often removes you from the noise so He can speak to you directly. We see isolation as loneliness, but it's actually intimacy with the divine. It's your cocoon, your sacred womb of transformation. And yes, it's uncomfortable. The silence can be deafening. The absence of connection can sting. But in that space, something begins to awaken. A deeper presence, a clearer voice, a stronger intuition. You start to hear God not in thunder, but in stillness. And the more you resist the silence, the longer the transformation takes. So instead of escaping it, enter it. Let the isolation shape you. Another dark warning is the reappearance of old wounds. You thought you healed. You thought you moved on. But suddenly, old pain surfaces. Childhood memories, past trauma, emotional triggers. And you wonder, why now? The answer is simple. You're ready. God will only bring up what you're strong enough to face. And healing is not linear. It's layered. Each time you rise in consciousness, you meet your wounds at a deeper level. Not to suffer, but to liberate. So don't see your triggers as setbacks. See them as teachers. They are the places where love is still needed. They are the gates to your freedom. Most people try to suppress these moments, but the awakened soul leans in and asks, what part of me is still asking to be seen, held, and integrated? That's the question that shifts everything. Then there's the disruption of your plans. You had a 5-year plan, a clear direction, a vision board filled with dreams. And suddenly, detour. Nothing works. Everything delays. Doors close. You feel betrayed by life. But what if that disruption is not rejection, but redirection? What if your plan was too small for your soul? What if God is trying to guide you to something you never would have chosen, but exactly what you need? We often confuse control with clarity. But sometimes the clearest path is the one we never saw coming. So when your plans fall apart, dare to ask, what is trying to be born through this chaos? What is life asking me to surrender so I can receive something greater? Your destiny will never fit in the box of your expectation. Sometimes God has to wreck your schedule to reveal your calling. And finally, the deepest warning of all, when your life becomes too quiet, no chaos, no drama, no movement, just stillness. For many, this is the hardest space to endure, because we've been conditioned to believe that movement equals progress. But in the divine realm, stillness is often the highest form of alignment. God doesn't always speak in motion. Sometimes he speaks in the pause. He allows everything to halt so you can see, so you can listen, so you can return. If you're in a season of stillness, don't rush out of it. Don't panic. Ask yourself, what am I being prepared for in this space of nothingness? Because often, the deeper the stillness, the greater the calling that follows. This is where roots grow. This is where your soul anchors. This is where silence becomes sacred. These 7 dark warnings are not punishments. They are invitations. Invitations to step off the conveyor belt of unconscious living and into the wild, raw, beautiful mystery of your spiritual awakening. But the question is, will you listen, or will you wait until the next earthquake? The Divine Reckoning, how to turn every spiritual warning into power, peace, and purpose. There comes a moment after the chaos, after the collapse, after the silence, where you are left standing in the ashes of your old life. And in that moment, you have a choice. You can either try to rebuild what was out of fear, out of habit, out of survival, or you can finally surrender and say, okay, God, I'm listening. Show me who I really am. This is the divine reckoning. It's not a punishment. It's a sacred confrontation between who you thought you were and who you were born to be. Every dark spiritual warning you've received wasn't there to shame you, it was there to align you, to call you into integrity with your soul. And when you stop resisting, you begin realizing that everything you feared losing was never truly yours. What's real can never be taken. What's false was never meant to stay. From this place, something magnificent begins to emerge, not from effort, but from presence. Not from trying to be something, but from finally allowing yourself to become. The first step in turning your spiritual warnings into power is radical honesty. You have to stop lying to yourself. Stop pretending it's fine. Stop minimizing the signs. You know when something is off. You feel it in your gut, in your chest, in the weight behind your eyes. And yet, we rationalize. We say, it's not that bad, or I'll deal with it later. But every time you ignore the truth, your soul has to scream louder to get your attention. Pain increases, confusion deepens, you spiral. Not because you're weak, but because you're out of alignment. Radical honesty means looking at every area of your life, your relationships, your habits, your beliefs, and asking, is this really supporting my highest self, or is this keeping me safe in a version of me that no longer exists? That question alone can unlock lifetimes of transformation. Because the moment you tell the truth, your energy begins to shift. And where truth flows, healing follows. Next comes embodiment. You can't just know the truth. You have to live it. Too many people collect spiritual knowledge like trophies, but never let it touch their behavior, their choices, their values. But if you've received a divine warning, if life has shaken you, stripped you, whispered through silence or storms, it's because you're being called to embody a new frequency. That means changing how you show up. It means setting boundaries where you used to people please. It means speaking your truth even when your voice shakes. It means choosing alignment over approval. That's where real power lives, not in the ideas you believe, but in the energy you carry. And when your actions match your soul, your life begins to flow again. Not without challenge, but without the constant resistance you used to call normal. You stop swimming against the current and start moving with the river of your own divine rhythm. Then comes the sacred integration of pain. Most people try to escape their pain. But what if your pain was your greatest teacher? What if every wound was a doorway not to more suffering, but to deeper wisdom? Integration means you don't just survive your dark night, you learn from it. You let it shape your compassion. You let it deepen your empathy. You let it refine your discernment. The version of you that walks out of the fire is not the same as the one who fell into it. And that's the point. Pain purifies. It strips away what's not essential. So instead of asking, how do I get back to who I was before this happened? Ask, who am I now that I've walked through it? That's where purpose begins, not from escaping your wounds, but from understanding them. Because once you know what your scars mean, you can use them to heal others. You become a living testimony, not of perfection, but of resurrection. Finally, you step into service, not as a performance, but as a vibration. When you've truly listened to the warnings, when you've allowed God to remake you through the fire, you no longer need to try to be light. You are light. Your presence heals. Your words awaken. Your energy uplifts. Not because you're trying to be something, but because you've become someone who no longer runs from truth. And in a world addicted to illusion, that is a radical act of service. That is leadership. That is spiritual power. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to have a platform. You just have to be real. Because realness is rare. And when someone who has walked through darkness and found God on the other side enters a room, the whole vibration shifts. That's what you're here for. Not to escape the world, but to change it by becoming the most whole, aligned, and awakened version of yourself.